H.P. Lovecraft is one of my favorite writers. I'm a big fan. I think he's written some of the best horror stories out there. My first video was talking about one of his stories. And so, I've decided to do a top 10. These are my top 10 favorite stories. This is not supposed to be the essential Lovecraft or a list of where I think everyone should start. But after reading most of his works multiple times, these are my favorites. This list is my opinion. It is the correct opinion, though if yours is different, that's fine, but also wrong. Feel free to tell me your favorites in the comments and we can talk about it there. Now, there are some classics here in the list, but there are also some of his most well-known stories that are going to be absent. So I'll be interested to see what people think of that. On one last note, aside from the number one story, which I do think is the best short horror story ever written, the order of these can change between readings. Also, the honorable mentions that I'm going to have, they can sometimes be in the top 10 depending on how I'm feeling. Okay, let's get started. Number 10, The Curse of Yig. It was ghostwritten for Zelia Bishop in 1929. This is a typical Lovecraft story, except set in the Southwest, and it's about a snake god. It's really cool. I've liked snakes since I was a kid. When I was really young, I loved dinosaurs. I found out they were all dead, and I moved on to reptiles. So for that reason, I think this is really cool. Some of the dialect that he uses and some of the dialogue is a bit wonky. This is not great, but it's not too much to ruin the story for me. But it does knock it down a few rungs down the ladder. All right, number 9, The Quest of Iranon. Iranon? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. This is a fantasy story. It's third person and kind of has like a distance about it. It reads like someone telling an ancient myth. Lovecraft was heavily influenced by Lord Dunsany, and this is a very Dunsanian story. It's a great one, but coming up later is kind of a similar myth-like fantasy story that I think is even better. The Strange High House in the Mist. Number 8. Written in 1926 and published in Weird Tales in 1931, Strange High House takes place in Kingsport, Mass. Thomas Olney becomes fascinated by an ancient house on a cliff that overlooks the town. He climbs the mountain to the house and finds an otherworldly reality. This one kind of blends the cosmic horror with elements of wonder from more of the dreamland stories. Number 7, The Shadow over Innsmouth. It's one of the classics, tentpole of horror fiction. You have the degradation of the fishing village, the terrible genetic secret, and one of Lovecraft's bleakest endings, though sometimes it's misinterpreted as a happier one. This story is also one of Lovecraft's more action-packed. This story also has one of Lovecraft's more action-packed scenes with the escape from the hotel room. I love this story. I love the deep ones. Many Lovecraftian video games or movies take place in either in Innsmouth or in an Innsmouth clone. The dilapidated village slowly being reclaimed by the sea is such a great horror setting. Number 6, The Dunwich Horror. Another of Lovecraft's stories that casts a long shadow. I talked a bit about this one in my Color Out of Space video, contrasting it with that story. But I didn't mean to in a negative way. For a long time, I would have said this was my favorite. But as I've reread different stories, it's kind of dropped just a little. This one, unlike Innsmouth, does have a sort of happy ending. Victorious for humans, at least for the time, when the professors from Miskatonic banish Wilbur Whately's twin. The Necronomicon features heavily, and Wilbur Whately is one of Lovecraft's coolest creations, in my opinion. Number 5, The Call of Cthulhu. Alright, this is the big one. If you've only heard of Lovecraft or only one of his stories or creations, it's probably this one. It's probably Cthulhu. Pronounce it however you want. It's a great story. I love the story within a story, the Russian doll thing he has going on. The Cthulhu cult popping up independently across the world and throughout time perfectly illustrates the accidental residual effect of such a colossal entity such a colossal entity has on the planet. Whew, that sentence was tough to get through. All right. But I do have one issue. It's a big issue, and it really keeps me from considering this story perfect. It is, in my opinion, and this is a spoiler, so heads up. Toward the end of the story, Cthulhu is rising from the ocean. He's rammed by the Norwegian ship, and he goes back under. He goes back to sleep. This is absolutely ridiculous. If Cthulhu rises at all, there shouldn't be anything anyone can do. Earth is screwed, humanity's screwed, the end. So having him just hit with a boat and then he goes back under, I mean, what if he really woke up and then we just nuked him? I mean, like, if a boat can knock him down, what could a nuke do? It makes him silly. It's silly, I think. I've seen people kind of explain it away as it being like an aspect or a projection of Cthulhu, not the actual Cthulhu. But I've never seen it, and I actually, when I was putting this video together, I reread it a couple times just to see if there's something there, and I don't see it at all. So, literal Rilye rises, Cthulhu awakens, he gets hit by a boat, and he goes back under the water. That's lame. I can't, I don't know. Maybe Lovecraft does talk about it somewhere in some of his letters, but again, I don't see it in the story as written. And so that kind of puts it here at number 5 instead of at number 1 or 2. This story has such high highs that instead of talking about how cool it is, I have to talk about what makes it lame and why it's at number 5. That's kind of a testament to how great most of the story really is. Number 4, the music of Erich Zann. A poor university student gets a cheap room on an oddly steep street. Every night his neighbor, Erich Zann, plays strange haunting music on his viol. Later he discovers Zann's music is holding off monstrous entities from another dimension. It's beautifully written and very atmospheric. Number 3, The Doom That Came to Sarnath. Not only a badass title, but the story matches it. Like Iranon, this is a great fantasy. It's like reading a myth, the horror version of The Sword and the Stone or the Iliad. Ancient creatures rise from a lake to take revenge on the great city of Sarnath. Over 1,000 years encompassed in just a couple thousand words. It's masterfully done. Number 2, The Festival. The narrator visits Kingsport for a family get-together at Yuletide or Christmas, and he descends into an ancestral cult ritual that reveals the town's dark secrets and those of his lineage. This one isn't as blatantly horrifying as some others, but it's very atmospheric. The arrival in Kingsport, the descent, both literally and metaphorically, and then the payoff. All done very well. I probably reread this one more often than any other Lovecraft story, and right now it's my number 2. Here are the honorable mentions. I'm not going to go into like a detail like I have been with the rest of the top 10. Any of these could be top 10 at any given time. So here's the list. The horror at Martin's Beach, the horror in the museum, the Nameless City, Rats in the Walls, the Cats of Ulthar. Those are my honorable mentions. Now on to number 1. And that number 1 story is The Color Out of Space. It's the subject of my first video. I think it's the best. A meteorite lands near a farm outside Arkham, Massachusetts, and it wrecks everything around it. This is the best depiction of cosmicism, as well as an alien invasion or encounter. It is completely unknowable, completely unstoppable. This is the Outer Dark, and it's the best. So that's my list. Once again, it's not like the essential Lovecraft or where to start type of deal. It's just my favorites. What are your favorites? Please tell me below. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. I'm also want to let you know that I am a writer. I write mostly horror, sci-fi, fantasy, stuff like that. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.